I do think is they need to start breaking some of this stuff up. We don't need to have this much on the agenda.
I wish I thought I was early. Yep, that's why I saw it, like, whoop, time to start. Okay, deep breaths.
Jesus.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Minneola Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, July 6, 2026. It is 6:30, and we're calling the meeting to order. Could we please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't believe that.
All right, bringing it back to the board here. Agenda review. Is there anything on the agenda that needs revised changes, adjustments, anything you noticed?
Nothing on my end.
No? Nope.
I'm good.
Okay.
Everything looks good here.
Perfect. All right, then we are moving on to public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address anything that is not on the agenda? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone? Nope. All right, we will now close public comments then, and bring it back to the board for approval of item 1, the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from June 1st, 2026. Are there any corrections or deletions that need to be made?
No, everything looked good for me.
Yep.
None.
Bill? No?
Nope.
All right, can I have a motion to approve item 1?
Motion to approve item 1.
I have a first, I have a second.
Second?
I have a first and second, all opposed, any?
Yep, try that again.
I know.
Slow
All in
down.
favor?
Slow down. Told you, we're on time tonight. No,
No, we are not.
I'm joking. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to commission discussion and action items. Item 2, preliminary subdivision plat, Sugarloaf Pod A. The prominence at Sugarloaf. Eric.
Thank you and good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Eric Rosh with Inspire Placemaking, here as the contract planner to the city. This is item number 2 in your staff report book, which is known as the Sugarloaf Mountain Pod A preliminary subdivision plat. I'll run you through the location of the project. I'll speak a little bit about the history of the site and some of the prior approvals that were granted. I'll outline the request, and then I'll wrap up just with some comments and a recommendation from staff. This one's going to be east of County Road 455 and north of Sugarloaf Mountain Road. It's a relatively large piece of property at 317.6 acres in size. It's the northernmost portion of the city limits. And it's part of the Sugarloaf Mountain PUD, and I'm sure folks have heard of the Sugarloaf Mountain PUD before. It's an older plan. It was approved originally as a development of regional impact back in 1994. There was a settlement agreement with the Department of Community Affairs that allowed it to move forward in 1996, and it's approved for over 2,400 dwelling units, 126,000 square feet of commercial, which is that small red area, and 25 acres of institutional uses. Of course, the property that we're speaking about today is indicated on the north side of this map. It's also referenced as pods A1, A2, and A3, also known as prominence. So the applicant's proposing 773 detached single-family dwelling units. They've got a mix of lot sizes here, 45-foot lots, 55-foot lots, and 65-foot lots. Those are lot widths. There are no townhomes, no apartments, no commercial. This is all single-family residential as proposed, consistent with that Sugarloaf Mountain PUD. The HOA or CDD will be maintaining drainage tracts, open spaces, parks, buffers, retaining walls, and the city will maintain roads, sidewalks, and utilities. There is one outstanding comment, and I know the applicant team's here to address this. Public Works did raise some issues regarding these medians that are shown in the boulevard configuration that you can see on the screen. They had concerns with lot access, since you have lots that are effectively accessing that boulevard. They wanted to ensure that there weren't going to be conflicts between cars trying to get in their driveways and hitting medians. So the applicant is going to address that. They elected to keep that design in and try to articulate how there will be no safety concerns associated with it. But just based on Public Works feedback, our recommendation is to approve subject to either the reconfiguration or removal of those medians. There's also an option of turning those lots, so they're not, oriented east-west, and they're more north-south. So there's a couple different ways you can handle this if you elect to eliminate the medians. With that concludes my presentation, and as I mentioned, the entire applicant team's here, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Before we move on to commissioner questions, does the applicant want to add anything to that?
Good evening, members of the commission. Mark Stelly, civil engineer with Pape Dawson, 2602 East Livingston Street. Were you asking me if I want to address the one item you just brought up right now?
Or anything, anything else that he may not have addressed, but yes.
No, his overall discussion of the project is correct, and staff has worked with us to get to this point, so appreciative of that. With respect to the comment regarding the median, we did have discussion with Public Works staff. What you're seeing there is the result of those discussions. This development has 3 entrances that you can access from. It's a lot and block grid pattern design. So there's multiple ways to enter the subdivision, to get around through the subdivision, to access the lots. And so there are, I guess, 4 lots in total that they would have to make a U-turn if they did not choose to just go around the block to get there. Being it's a single-family development, low-speed roads, we don't consider this a safety issue. We see a lot of developments that you have in medians where houses front on those medians, and those developments get along just fine without any major safety concerns. So we feel the design is a quality design. The developer likes the character that it builds in terms of facing the homes to the boulevard. But we do have another alternative if we have to go in that direction, but this is the design that we'd like to stick with.
Okay, thank you. All right, opening it up to the commissioners, going, let's see. So left to right, Commissioner Rose, is there anything you would like, any questions or anything, concerns?
Well, in the report that I got emailed, there was a question regarding fire trucks not allowed to turn left. All movements are showing right turns. Has that been addressed?
Those are the Kevin's comments? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
those are Kevin's comments in the documents that were sent over.
Yeah, so if you see his comment, he shows kind of the graphic. We thought it was understood if you can make a right turn, which is a sharper turn with the fire truck, then obviously a left turn through the intersection, which has a bigger radius, is obviously doable. So we did not show that at the scale. It would clutter the drawing. So we think it's inferred because you can do the right, which is a tighter movement.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
No other questions?
All right. Bill, you have anything?
I see that the final project here is going to be 2,380 houses, is that correct?
The overall development, I think, is around 24 something. The land use table and the plans.
2,400 dwelling.
So there's 2,555 total units allowed per the PD.
I see that the last school currency review was in 2022. Is there one in the future?
The development is vested for school concurrency.
Say it again.
The development is already vested for school concurrency.
Is your traffic guy here?
It is not.
Probably won't know this then. I'll table it. Okay, looking good.
Commissioner Martin.
So I, for the record, did speak with the developer, and I also spoke with Eric from Inspire, trying to understand this prior to the meeting. One of my biggest concerns looking at this was the fact that this particular project is a mosaic ecological system. So there's 5 different ecosystems operating on this at one time. Looking at the biotech survey, there's 77 active gopher tortoise burrows, 10 of them other mammals, and then 5 abandoned burrows. A lot of the things that I looked at was the fact that a lot of these ecosystems that are already there are completely established. And so one of my biggest concerns when speaking to the developer was asking how many trees were going to be removed for this project versus how many were going to be retained, if they were able to give me that kind of question so that I understood a little bit better what was the mentality. It was based on that conversation, my understanding that everything was going to be taken down and then they were going to go ahead and do new. I'm less than pleased with that, obviously, and I understand that, looking at everything, it looks like they're, obviously going based on directly to our code, but looking at that particular survey, there's still the question of the American crustaceans, which they were told that they had to do the survey during breeding season, which is now, so they have from April to August, and they are in the process of doing that survey, but there's no results back on that yet. Same thing with some of the other, there was no like bald eagles or whatever cited, but it is the correct ecosystem for all of the things. And that was very much notated throughout the entire environmental survey. So, at the end of the day, the environmental permitting has been completed and the project appears satisfactory as regards to those limits outside of the American crustacean. We're still waiting for that, and I think that they said it would be done prior to August, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The issue is that because we're just doing regulatory compliance with this, it doesn't necessarily maximize any ecological function, which is going to have a huge ecological impact with this development because we're taking absolutely everything out and preserving nothing. So therefore, my biggest concern with this is I do recommend approval of this. I think that you guys have done a fantastic job of, putting everything up to code as it was. However, I think we need to make the recommendation to council that we have to preserve mature trees where it's feasible. I think it's a recommendation to be considered instead of destroying absolutely everything. I think we also need to increase native landscaping. I think a lot of what's over there, scrub ecosystems and things like that, the replacements for that would be oak scrubs and rosemary, which in your plan would actually probably save some money. So a consideration of making an ecological impact in the other direction will help with mitigation. I also think that I saw on the original plan, there was a lot of those stormwaters and you have those green spaces. In the stormwater drainage area, I think the biggest thing would be to see where you can put ecological appropriate plants. So instead of just making it a dry stormwater area, if we can increase, cattails or other things like that, that would make it a feasible system. I also think that if there's any opportunity to enhance wildlife connectivity where it's practical, especially being on 455, I think that that's something that needs to be considered. I also encourage HOA stewardship. So in the HOA, when you're having this discussion on how these properties will be maintained, putting emphasis on those discussions where we're keeping stewardship and ecological impact with mitigation as a priority in the conversation. I understand that the things that I'm suggesting are exactly that, suggestions, but I think if you understand where I'm looking at it from, is this is something that, this is 317 acres, that only a portion of that has been touched for agriculture, the rest has been untouched. So I think that this is less about conserving everything, don't build, and more of, hey, both things can exist. So if we can make these little, I don't know what you want to call it, but suggestions that are essentially feasible and would be a lower cost for you and lower cost to maintain, I think these are conversations worth having. My other 2 suggestions is to utilize dark sky lighting as recommended by international, not as in our code, and then to incorporate pollinator habitats in those green spaces where possible. So those are my overall recommendations. I think the answers of why I recommend them speak for themselves.
All right. I have some questions that we didn't get covered here, because I figured you were going to have a lot on that. And I know, like you said, the traffic, this is one of my concerns here, because the traffic impact analysis states that the County Road 561 is projected to operate above its adopted capacity at build-out, yet mitigation is not recommended. So I don't know if Eric, if you want to, can you explain a little bit more on that? Because why is it not recommended and this project exceeds it? Okay.
Good question. And unfortunately, our traffic engineer is not with us this evening. They did resubmit their traffic study to address the original round of comments from our traffic subconsultant. He reviewed those and said, I have no additional comments. The study is approved as presented. So I can certainly get that information prior to council. I'm just not prepared to answer that, not being a traffic engineer.
Okay. But then, so you can say then, well, besides transportation, utility, and school concurrencies have been all satisfied, though. Would you say,
So with concurrency, that'll be a downstream process. They submit the application now, but they can't reserve capacity for, water or wastewater until such time that they're ready to go to permitting. And it really depends on what's available at that time, whether they're going to, have to address some sort of mitigation if the city has capacity or if it doesn't. So to my knowledge right now, I think there is capacity. But that could change if they wait, 6 to 12 months to come in with permitting plans.
okay. There were no other comments that staff had besides, there's nothing else that,
No, those were the only staff comments. We went through 5 rounds of review with the applicant on this one and really, I think, did a thorough job on it.
Okay. I think, Bill, you said you had one.
There's one thing on the traffic that I'm really concerned about as well, and it says, on item B here, it says, report stated that our study of the intersection are projected to operate adequately at build-out condition. However, the intersection at 561A and Hancock Road, I guess that's the traffic light, is projected to operate at LOSE, which means that severe congestion in the PM. What's the status in the morning?
Level of service E is still a passable level of service in the PM peak hour. It's when your level of service F, that's
Can you
failure.
talk more in the microphone? Yeah, thank you.
Level of service F is when the intersection fails. Level of service E in a PM peak hour is an acceptable level of service.
Right, it's stating that there's gonna be severe traffic in the PM. What kind of traffic in the morning? That's my concern.
I don't have the report with me. I would assume that the PM peak hour is the heavier traffic volume than the AM. That's the one that was analyzed.
Is that something, Eric, that we would be able to provide to council at that same time, then, since we have to get the traffic, because we
Yeah.
don't have the engineer here?
We can, and they did a 2-step process on their traffic study. They did a methodology first, so our subconsultant agreed upon how to measure and what to measure. Once they completed that, that's when they did the impact analysis. So I'm glad to provide both of those and the response from our subconsultant directly to council for their consideration.
Please, okay. Sorry, Bill, did you have anything else? No. Okay. Then I think we have no other issues, questions, and I'm looking for a motion.
No, we need a public comment.
Yes, thank you. I knew I was off my game here. Anybody from the public, please come forward. Thank you, Nicole, for that.
I'm Deborah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Deborah Bishop Carney.
You can move
Place
that
your-
down.
Yeah. put
Like
it
a
down
lot.
and Also state your name and address please.
Deborah Bishop Carney, 3146 Hill Point Street. I just basically have a question. Is this community going to be gated, or is the road system available to the public?
The applicant can come up again.
It's not intended to be gated. It's open to the public.
Not gated, okay. Thank you.
That's why the city is paying for the streets as opposed to the community? Okay.
Yes.
Did you want me to sign this even though I signed?
Yes, please.
Sign, or in the back, yeah. If you haven't signed in, and you speak, yes,
I did
please.
back there.
You did up there, then that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this topic? All right, if not, then I'm bringing it back to the board. Can I now get a motion for?
I'll give you a
item two?
motion to approve with encouragement of some of the things. I would like to adopt all of the recommendations that Inspire had, as well as that traffic study that both of you guys had brought up. But I also want to make sure that we're preserving mature trees where feasible. I want to increase native landscaping, incorporate ecological stormwater placements, enhance wildlife connectivity where practical, encourage HOA stewardship, utilize dark sky international lighting, incorporate pollinator habitat.
We also addressed Kevin's comments since. if
That
there's-
was the
yeah.
traffic study, all of those
That
things.
was
Yeah,
perfect, okay.
yep, that was the
Perfect.
comments there. So that is my motion in full.
All right, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion approved. Okay, hold on one second. All right, moving on to item number 3. Are we going to do 3 and 4 together?
Yes,
Okay, all right,
I'll read them both for you if that's your
Yes,
wish.
please.
Thank you.
make my life easy.
Item 3 is ordinance 2026-09, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, providing for voluntary annexation of 4.88 plus or minus acres pursuant to Section 171.044 Florida statutes, generally located north of Bear Springs Road and west of County Road 455 in Lake County, Florida. Upon annexation, rezoning the property from Lake County Agricultural District to City of Minneola Agriculture District, within the City of Minneola, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Item 4 is ordinance 2026-10. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, providing for a comprehensive plan amendment, amending the land use designation from rural on the Lake County Comprehensive Plan to agriculture on the future land use map of the City of Minneola's Comprehensive Plan for 4.88 plus or minus acres of property generally located north of Bear Spring Road and west of County Road 455 in Lake County, Florida, providing for conditions, contingencies, directing the city clerk to transmit the amendment to the appropriate governmental agencies pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. And I would just, if you would, Madam Chair, I'd like to swear everyone in who would like to speak about items 3 and 4 tonight. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Good evening. For the city, John Lozano, Planning and Zoning Department, presenting items 3 and 4 of the agenda. Comprehensive Plan Amendment, Annexation and Rezoning for 21097, County Road 455. The applicant requests that approximately 4.88 acres of property be annexed into the city to be rezoned City of Minneola Agriculture AG, which is equivalent to its current zoning in Lake County. Property is located north of Bear Spring Road and west of County Road 455 in Lake County. It is currently in the Agriculture Zoning District of Lake County. The request was noticed in accordance with Section 98-2 and Section 98-4 of the Minneola City Code of Ordinances, with the signs being posted as shown 6 feet above the ground on June 17th. Advertisements for both ordinances have a publishing date of June 17th in the Claremont Sun. Notices were also mailed to adjacent property owners on June 18th. According to Section 98-2 of the City Code of Ordinances, the property is contiguous with the city's corporate boundaries and can therefore be annexed into the city. As the aerial view shows, the property is contiguous with the boundary of the municipality, more specifically the front side of the property. The presence of County Road 455 between the city boundary and the subject property may not prevent annexation according to Florida Statute 71.03, Item 3. Exhibit A map shows the subject property within the proposed growth area of Minneola. Annexations within designated municipal areas are allowed if they comply with Florida Statute 171, Part 1, which is the case of the subject property. It's also important to note that Chapter 3, Item C, Sub-Item I of the agreement specifies that the city shall be entitled to annex any property in a manner which is consistent with Part 1, Chapter 171 of Florida statutes. Alternate key numbers mentioned on Exhibit A of the ISBA are for properties that do not meet Part 1 of Chapter 171 of Florida statutes. Section 98-2 also mentions that parcel being annexed shall receive zoning classification compatible with its surroundings. The current zoning of the property is Lake County Agriculture Zoning District A. The proposed zoning is City of Minneola Agriculture District AG. As you can see on this comparative table, the permitted uses within the city's Agriculture AG is more restrictive than those uses allowed within the County Agriculture Zoning District. According to Policy 1-2.9.1 of City of Minneola Comprehensive Plan, activities allowed under agriculture land use designation include single-family housing with one dwelling unit for every 5 acres, which is equivalent to its current density under county rural. The proposed future land use is not against goals or policies established on the comprehensive plan. Staff recommendation for annexation and rezoning of the property located at 21097 County Road 455 is approval. The Planning Department recommends the approval of the annexation application because the subject property is contiguous to the existing city limits, complying with the Code of Ordinances of the city, Florida statutes, and the Interlocal Service Boundary Agreement. Staff recommendation for comprehensive plan amendment for 21097 County Road 455 is also approval. The Planning Department recommends the approval of the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment application because the proposed future land use is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the City of Minneola. The Planning Department considers that the spirit and intent of Minneola City Code is effectively and substantially met by both ordinances.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually have 2 questions for him
well-
before he goes.
I'd also like to see if the applicant wanted to add anything
Yeah.
before we start asking questions, but,
Well-
because we can bring them back up. I mean,
Okay.
does the applicant want to add anything?
Dave Yeager, 13415 Sullivan Road, Minneola. We just want a straight annexation from the county to the city. It's a simple annexation plan. Thank you.
Okay. Open it for commissioners for questions. Commissioner? Not yet. No, Commissioner Martin?
Can you come back on up here, please? I got a question for you. Not you, sorry, Mr. Yeager.
Her staff.
Staff. My flower pen didn't do me justice there. Okay, first question, can you go back to the slide? hang on, pull up these slides for a second. I do believe it was like the 5th or 6th side.
Do you want me to do it, or you will do it?
I can't control
okay.
it. I could just tell you where my first question is.
2, 3, this is the 4th one,
Okay, keep going.
this is the 5th one.
I think it's the next one you're talking about.
The next one over.
This would be the 6th one.
Okay, so on this one, when you were speaking, specifically, you talked about the alt key mentioned. Here it states the alt keys mentioned on Exhibit B of the ISBA are for properties that do not meet Part 1 of Chapter 171 of Florida statutes, but when you were speaking, you said Exhibit A. So I just want to clarify.
apologize.
It's okay. I just want to clarify that we were, for the record, talking about the Exhibit B.
Yes, that was an
Okay.
oversight on my part.
All right. I knew what you were talking about, but for the record, I wanted to clarify it so
Thank you
that
for
there
that.
was no, you did a fantastic job, and I know that you're not used to doing this, so I just wanted to clarify that. I do have one more question, and this is, again, a clarifying question for the record. So why does staff feel that agriculture is the most appropriate flume here?
I would like to refer the question to Joyce, if possible.
Again, this is just clarifying for the record, not questioning you because you did anything wrong.
It's the current use, so it's not changing it, but it's actually kind of helping encourage the agriculture in the city, which is something we do have in our comprehensive plan to encourage agricultural zoning as well as, other zoning, so.
Okay. So just to speak out loud, because that's what I do here, the amendment aligns with the future land zoning map with the annexation. I actually got a copy of this from Planning and Zoning. I recommend you guys getting one too. It's been very helpful in my notes area over here. They also printed out for me, I don't remember what we called this, but this is like part of the comp plan, and it has all of the like zoning, what everything's meant for and stuff like that. This was also very helpful. And so according to the 2 things that they gave me, I mean, everything looks like it is exactly aligned to go from ag to ag. And even in the existing, the existing comments about the restrictions from our comp plan, how we are more restrictive in agriculture. So basically, like, they can't have any more development or anything like that. The one issue that I have, and this is more of like for city, when the applicant was filling out the application, the written justification is personal. I don't know if you noticed that, but when they asked, why did you want this, it was very personal. And while the planning resonate should come from a more consistency with a comprehensive plan, and, Mr. Yeager, the applicant, was able to come up and justify that, I think that just to avoid any tensions moving forward when applicants come in and they're providing the reasoning, I think it's very important that we're not putting personal reasons on there, because I do believe that creates tension between the public and what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish with the reason behind it. So those were my things. Like, I feel like otherwise, like, everything is aligned on a planning basis, and it definitely is consistent. And especially with it being like continuous, I believe that this is aligned with our plan. So that is my opinions, thoughts, and questions.
Commissioner McCoy? You're good? Commissioner Rose?
Just a couple of questions for Mr. Yeager, if you don't mind. These are going to be easy questions. Should the property get annexed, do you plan on homesteading it?
Could be, yes.
Could be, okay. Also, there was, to hop on Nicole's, there was a bit of ambiguity as to the main purpose in annexing the property. Knowing how familiar I am with all of the work that you've done for the city of Minneola, all of the service that you've given the city of Minneola, is it safe to say by annexing that primary reason is to continue to service the city of Minneola and the residents more so than just wanting to live here?
Correct.
Okay, because that kind of clarifies the ambiguity of the initial. And I think that a lot of people in the room didn't really understand why you were doing it. So that's why I wanted to bring that up in public, that I felt that you're doing it because you want to continue to serve the city of Minneola and the residents.
And just so you know, when my wife filled that out, it was her point of view.
Correct.
And my point of view was different.
That's what I thought.
And, well, yeah, my point of view, and understand too, this is across the street from over 700 homes that just went in front of you.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I also learned that a contiguous property can be across the street or on the other side of a lake as well.
Correct.
So-
And we've annexed some property on 27 that wasn't even contiguous for like 10 or 15 properties. But it was in our 180, and we got to do that.
Right, and then should the property be annexed, you would immediately have fire, police, all of the services, but you may not have sewer or water, even though you're on septic and well right now. Those services may or may not be available in the future, depending on what the city does
Well,
with that.
the project that just came in, obviously, they wouldn't bring all that out unless there was a project.
Okay,
At this moment, the trash truck packs us twice a week, and it's been going to Sugarloaf servicing 3 houses for 10 years and 5 houses for like 5 years.
right.
So the people say, well, you know, we're ruining resources. No, we're not. They pass my front door.
Agreed.
County services have once a week trash. So there's really nothing I need at this time. But if it came to the opportunity that the 700 homes did progress, and we did have the opportunity at my cost
Correct.
to set to city sewer and to water, that would be my
That would be your,
reasoning.
okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Yeager. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you want to talk about what I was talking about before, either the ISB or the other acres, or would we just want to move on
I think we should do public comment
first? Okay, just to make sure.
And then if we need to clarify, we can.
Perfect, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on to public comments. Anybody in the audience that would like to come forward to address us, please state your name and address for the record. Also, I'd like to remind, this time I'm setting limits, so if we can keep it to 3 minutes, I'd appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for hearing me. My name is Tom Moore. I live at 21135 County Road 455. Obviously, we have a difference of opinion. My understanding of what the state's definition of contiguous is that it has to be a majority of the footage of the perimeter of the property. And being that this is a very narrow lot and very deep, it's a very, very small percentage of the property that butts up to 455, and I don't believe that meets the rule of contiguous. Obviously,
Sir,
opinions.
nowhere in the statute does it say majority.
Okay,
So in the frontage is the main area that we're looking at, and it is contiguous to the city across the street.
okay. Like I said, we all have different opinions. I think the second part, I think the city's ordinance says that to be zoned agricultural, it has to be 5 acres, and it's not 5 acres.
Right. When the county actually platted that property, they took right-of-way for 561, and we don't count that land against people when they donate it to the city and the county.
Okay, so you're saying it's over 5 acres, or?
I'm saying that the property, when it was split, was intended to be 5 acres. However, the county took right-of-way for the road.
Okay.
And we round up, and if we were going to go to the next zoning district that 4.88 acres would fit into exactly, then we would be granting 4 extra houses on the property. So to not do that and to give Mr. Yeager exactly what he has, we are recommending the agricultural district.
Okay. Basically, I'm part of a group of people that represent about 200 acres that surround that property. We don't feel like it's something that we want to see happen. We feel like the points that I just brought up are obviously different from what you feel that they are. We just feel like if you bend the rules for a sitting council member, that we're traveling down the road of an ethics violation, and I consider that a pretty serious offense. So I think if we're gonna do it, everybody better be right, because if you're wrong, it's gonna be a big problem. It's just my opinion. Thank you much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Chris Perkins, 21103 County Road 455. I haven't heard it other than the gentleman prior to me stating that the applicant is a city council member. Didn't come up at all. I think that's a really pertinent fact here. On the 2nd of June at the city council meeting, the city attorney made clear that the purpose was to annex the property so the applicant could retain his status as a city council member. I don't think that justifies annexation, but that's going to be your decision, and I don't think that, anybody's going to believe that it's for any other purpose, and we'll just have to see how the outcome comes.
May I?
Hey,
Okay, so I think that we are blending a couple of truths together. So it was stated at the last meeting that it was for Mr. Yeager, and he did come up and answer all of the questions, and I do believe it was Mr. Ken Rose who went after him so eloquently about the concern and the intention of why he was wanting to do this. And during that meeting, as well as the city council meeting, Mr. Yeager did state that he does have an additional residence in Minneola, and even though the lot is up for sale, that is still his residence. So I think that his intention of wanting to move to this property, I mean, if it is in the city of Minneola, then it would obviously make it easier for him, but he still maintains a Minneola resident address. And I think that that's the thing that really is the problem for everyone.
well, go ahead.
No, I also had one more, just statement, because I feel like this is like a continuous conversation. I think that at the end of the day, unfortunately for Mr. Yeager, the reason why there's so much back on it is because it's Mr. Yeager. If it was anyone else, this is my opinion, I feel like if it was anyone else, we would be looking at the facts. And so I understand, because we just had the attorney who's literally, her whole job is to know the code and to make sure that we're in compliant as our representation. And she was just told that her information was an opinion. So I understand your concern and I get it, but at the end of the day, he is, by choosing to annex into the city, he's actually losing rights, so to speak, because in Lake County, the things that they're allowed to do as rural agriculture is a lot more than what he's allowed to do if he annexes it in as city agriculture. So he is understanding that he is going on restriction by doing that and is still choosing to do so, right? He also understands that he assumes all responsibilities that if he chooses to go off of sewer or well that he is currently on and chooses to go on city utilities, that it is going to be at his expense. So I think I understand your concern and all of the public's concern in this matter, but he's also stating that he understands that he is going to be taking sole ownership over these responsibilities if he moves forward.
Is it normal for city council members in the history of Minneola to speak on their own behalf on issues that they're presenting to the board?
He's not voting on it.
No, I'm not asking that. Presenting. Are they able to interact either through the planning and zoning or the city council? Is that a normal procedure? Because I'm new to this, and I don't know who that guy is. He moved in next to me a couple months ago, so I have no dog in that fight. Mm-hmm. What I do know is that all the things that you said don't make a difference to him if he doesn't get this annexation, because that's what he needs to sit on the city council. If he doesn't have that and his other property does sell, he can't run for mayor, as he's told a neighbor of mine. He wants to run for mayor again and also sit on the city council. So it is perception that is why this is being done. So if it isn't, and you guys approve it, then we'll just let the chips fall where they may, if you feel confident about it. Right?
All right.
Because what other reason? It's certainly not financial on an agricultural piece of property that doesn't make sense unless you tie in the fact that he needs it to be on city council. Then it makes all the sense in the world. Am I wrong?
But it's our job to look at the facts as the property itself.
And
it's not my job to look at it and say, Mr. Yeager wants it for a different reason.
It's
And
my job.
Right,
Right.
and that's what we're
what I'm
trying to
doing.
explain,
Okay.
and that's fine.
And
And that's up for council.
Right, and our job is on the annexation part only. So If you want to add anything else before we go on, because I'm sure there's other people that want to speak. Mr. Perkins, is there anything else?
No, I think you have heard it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like, yep.
Before she comes up and speak, there are a couple of people who are starting to come up that when you asked for people to swear in, they didn't raise their hands. So I just want to make sure that that's on record before everyone speaks, that because you did ask for people to be sworn in, that everyone is making sure that they're doing that moving forward.
Is there anyone additional that needs to be sworn in? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Cynthia Owens, and I'm a resident of Minneola. I live at 2819 Purple Meadow Court, just down the street from Mr. David Yeager. And I want to make this abundantly clear. This is about the annexation of the property and has nothing to actually do with Mr. Yeager, because I come from an area where annexations were done haphazardly, and it created a lot of cookie cutter cutouts that made for issues with police response, fire response, ambulance response, and so therefore that's what my comments are going to address for you tonight. I'm here to respectfully request that the Planning and Zoning Commission deny this voluntary annexation request because I do not believe it promotes orderly, consistent, and equitable growth in the city of Minneola. While the city limits currently incorporate the area east of County Road 455, directly across from the subject property, and city staff states this is contiguous and that the map shows this, I feel that approving this annexation would actually create an island on the west side of that county road. The property's southern boundary does not connect with the city's northern boundary, resulting in a disconnected area rather than a logical extension of the city's municipal borders. Annexation should promote contiguous, well-planned growth, not isolated pockets of city property. This request also appears to be primarily for the benefit of the single property owner rather than the benefit of the community as a whole. I'm not saying this for council, not council, it's what is this annexation going to do for the city versus what it's doing for the applicant. Annexation decisions should serve a broader public purpose by advancing the city's comprehensive plan, improving the efficient delivery of municipal services, and supporting long-term planning objectives. They should not be used to promote a unique advantage to one property when there is no corresponding public benefit. Approving this annexation would also create inconsistencies for neighboring property owners on that west side of County Road 455. Residents and property owners should be treated fairly and consistently, I can see this word, wherever possible. Annexing one parcel while the surrounding or nearby properties remain outside the city creates uneven patterns for jurisdictions, which I mentioned at the beginning of these comments, regulations as well, and your future development opportunities. Such inconsistencies can lead to confusion and raise questions about fairness and how annexation decisions are made. Finally, every annexation sets a precedent. This commission has the responsibility to ensure that growth occurs in a logical, connected, and consistent manner that protects the interests of all Minneola residents. For these reasons, I do respectfully request that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend denial of this voluntary annexation request. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. Mark Stover, 2111 County Road 455. I have a few questions for the board. The first is, the original amendment that was submitted stated that the property was not contiguous. Okay, when the last time we was here. The amendment also stated in the second part that it was to further then request single-family low density. I'm not making that up. That was in the amendments the first time we showed up. That's why everybody was here. I have a question about contiguous. You had made a comment that the property is contiguous, and you used a specific word a few moments ago. I can't remember what it was. I'm really sorry. I was listening intently, but I can't remember what word you said to validate that it is in fact contiguous. Do you remember that word?
Don't.
Majority,
I
okay.
said the majority is, that word's
Okay.
not in the statute.
I'm
The
sorry?
word- The word majority is not in the statute.
Correct, it's not, but you stated, as I understand it, and everybody was so helpful, you stated a majority of the property boundary is coterminous with the city. Is that correct, what you said?
All right, so the frontage
Okay?
is contiguous to the city limits.
But you used that word majority, is what everybody just told me. I'm trying to make a point. I'm not trying to be difficult, but this is an important point. I also don't know this applicant, never met him in my life. Sincerely wish him well. It's not personal. But to the woman that just spoke, these are important things for people that have lived out there for a long time and raised families and have generations on the same piece of property. The statute 171.031 states, contiguous means that a, quote, substantial part of a boundary of the territory sought to be annexed by a municipality is coterminous. And I would like to ask the board, approximately, if I understand the boundaries correctly, there's 250 feet of road frontage in the front, 250 feet roughly in the back, and about 1,200 feet along the sides. That's about anywhere from 8 to 10%. I would certainly suggest that the county would, or the city, or the planning and zoning board, I would like to know if you feel 8 to 10% is considered substantial. I do not believe it is, and based on that fact, I do not believe, and I'm not an attorney, I'm just reading what I read, but substantial is not 8 to 10% of a property's boundary, in my opinion. Substantial would be anything over 50%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I do want to clarify something. He asked about the documents from last time and how it was labeled a single-family home. Those documents were pulled because they were inaccurate. That was a majority of the concerns from last time. It was also written that way because when, and staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, they were looking for the best fit to put into it, and because we didn't have a clear understanding of ag and we were looking at the plus or minus and how that would come into play, that was the recommendation of single family. After that recommendation was brought up, it was made very clear by the applicant and his wife that they had no intention to build and they wanted to keep it as it was, and that was what encouraged the deeper questions and looking at it and understanding that the plus or minus with the 4.88 not being 5 acres was actually considered and able to be considered agriculture in the city limits. So that's the clarification for those who had concerns with that. Thank you.
Come forward.
And just to be clear, I did swear in on the initial swearing in. Is there a separate swearing in for this? Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure I didn't miss something. Dwayne Smith, 2767 Purple Meadow Court, Minneola, Florida. Commissioner, I appreciate and I view this application as a voluntary application, but I'm going to say to you, I think not. I think it is really a hostile annexation. And I say this because, well, it is framed as voluntary because there's this one property which is contiguous that is seeking to come into the city. It is one property within a subdivision, and it's taking that one property out, so you're creating a subdivision that is now bifurcated. It's got two different sets of statutes that people have to comply with, which makes no sense to most people. So I think that we have to think back as to, is that really normal? Is that what the city likes to do, is to just annex in a piece of property because it happens to be next door and it happens to be within another neighborhood or another community? I don't think that's the way it needs to be going. I think I had some issues with the letter by Joyce Huffington, the Lake County Commissioners. I thought it was disingenuous at best. It is presented in a manner to mislead the recipient, which is the county commissioners. The amount of land is clearly stated in the Kearney County paperwork as 4.86 acres, and she said it was a plus or minus 5 acres. And I think if she wanted to use that plus or minus, that was great, but at least use the one that is on the county land records at 4.86. And I think that that also needed to state in that letter that this property is part of an existing subdivision within the county, and we were going to take out just one property within that subdivision within the county, because I think that would impact what the county commissioners had to think about the property being annexed. Additionally, I've not seen a response to that letter in the package that came before us today. And so I think maybe there's actually a benefit for just postponing this until we get a decision from the county as to whether they think there is something that needs to be done or not done as regards to the annexation of this property. You've asked before the question of what's the benefit to the city. I'm not sure I see a benefit to the city. We talk about agriculture and stuff like that. I've not really seen any plans that the city has this desire or move to move out and create this huge agricultural zone out to the north and west of the city. It just doesn't seem to be there. I also found the staff recommendations interesting. The people who were telling the county there's 5+ acres now state there's a definitive 4.88 acres. And the value that differs between the two, which is the appraiser who says it's 4.86 acres. And even the data that's in the package goes like 4.861 acres. So I know that attorneys talks about how the right-of-way impacted this. I say that's irrelevant to this application. This application is based upon what its current property is, not what it was at some time 20, 30 years ago, but what it is in fact today and was known when it was bought today. So to claim, well, I had more acreage before I bought it, doesn't make much sense. And if you look at the conforming, non-conforming elements under annexation and stuff like that, or properties, we talk about things that could be non-conforming because of a change in the law or whatever. This property was, in fact, intact when it was purchased. It was intact at 4.861 acres or 4.88 acres, but it was not 5 acres. And to say, well, it was at some point in time 5 acres, that's the county's thing. Counties like us, if we passed a rule and changed something, we said, all right, you were conforming when you were actually built, but you're non-conforming now, but here's how you handle that problem. That wasn't the case here. It's been non-conforming since day one. And so we go back into that section on all those statutes, and I just think that, you talk about the penalties that applicants are going to have, so maybe the best bet is that the applicant just withdraw his application and enjoy life in the county. It doesn't need to be here in the city to enjoy life, so enjoy a more leisurely life, a more forgiving life, one that allows you to remain ag and have a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any, oh, yes, you may. Please, Dave, thank you.
So we answered the questions. Dave Yeager, 13415 Selden Road. On June 18th, I got a letter from the city that says they did the errors on the first time it came in front of you on June 1st. It had nothing to do with the applicant, it has the errors. I had the city come out and change the signs. When they came out, planning and zoning changed the signs, they changed them and they were wrong for the second time. So then they came out for the third time. The signs were done the third time to the exact same height. But what's funny, no other applicant in this room had to put the signs at that level. Shepherd's Landing, approved. Signs were in the little sign for elections. So I followed that, but Shepherd's Landing, there's a place down in Minneola, they're doing a variance or conditional use. So I was brought to a higher standard. So now what you see today is when you come, there's a few places now where they're all the right height. It's in the code, but I'm the poster child, and that's fine. Doesn't matter either which way, and obviously my neighbor's misinformed because I'm not going to run for mayor. Has nothing to do with it. I've been here since '94. I've been on paying zone for 24 years. I've been a mayor for 4 years. I was on council before that. The fact is, they're worried about me, and there's 700 homes going across the street. So again, annexing, less rights, annexing to the city. It is contiguous, and there's been many properties when I was on council that was not contiguous, were many parcels away, that was in our 180, and we annexed them. And the last time that a person from the Minneola was our city clerk annexed to, there's a trailer park down in Old Minneola, and she was the city clerk, and she's the only house in Plum Lake that's in the city of Minneola. Everything else in that place is county. And this would be the first ag in the city of Mineola ever. So I think there's bigger fish to fry, and obviously I have some fans out there. And the bottom line is I can stay at 2750 Purple Meadow until the cows come home, because I've had 2 houses for like 15 years. So if that's an issue, but misinformed about running for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there no one else? Then we will close public comments and bring it back up to the board for, I guess, get a motion.
I do want to ask one more clarifying question for the city, just again for the city, just for again for the record. So,
Yes.
and I know that Mr. Yeager just touched on this, but Joyce, if you may, currently in the city's limits, how many houses do we have zoned for, or properties do we have zoned for ag?
I don't believe we have any right now.
So this would be the first. And what is the benefits, according to the state, having ag in the city?
Well, actually, it's a benefit to the applicant because he gets city services. So he will have a fire station much closer to his house that can respond to him because we're building one right on Hancock Road, which is very close to where he's building, where he is rather. And, you know, he'll get city garbage service, you know, all kinds of benefits like that he will get, fire, you know, like I said, the fire service and all. So it's a benefit. And it's also, you know, the city, we're not against agriculture by any means. We care about the environment and we care about the agriculture in the city. And I think this is a good way of the city showing that we do care about it and we do, you know, want to preserve it in our city.
Okay, thank you. And one last question. When you sent the survey and the statement to the county, letting them know of the intention of this annexation, was there any comments backwards from the commissioners?
The only thing I got was I got a call from the city attorney just wanting to know when we were doing this.
Okay, thank you. So there's no negative comments from the county. I would like to make a motion to approve the rezoning of this, redoing them separately, items 3 and items 4.
We'll need a motion for each, yes,
Okay,
please.
so I would like to start with making a motion for approval for item number 3.
If I can add something first.
Yes.
On a personal note, both myself and Mr. Yeager were vying for the city council seat number 1. So it is obviously more advantageous to deny Mr. Yeager the annexation. However, I do have to go by what the law states, what the ordinances state, what zoning states in making my decision. It is not a personal decision.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion for approval. Staff clearly explains why the parcel is consistent with the ag standards, and so I approve this annexation.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, any opposed, say nay. 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 All, motion carries. Sorry, I can't get my,
Wait, just for clarification, so that was
Okay.
3 approval, 1 nay?
That was for 3, now we're going to do 4.
Okay, no, but I'm saying 3 voted in favor and 1 voted against. Okay. All right, that sounds good. I would like to go ahead and make a motion for approval for item number 4, the comprehensive plan amendment. Support if the staff explains, the staff did explain the planning basis and confirms that it is consistent with the intent of agriculture designation, so therefore I approve this. I make a motion for approval.
Second.
okay, I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay. Motion carries. Okay.
Again, was that a nay?
That was a nay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Well, I'm just trying to make my notes too, so I have them.
Okay,
All right, moving on to,
so that one was 3-1, both for item 3 and item 4 for clarification.
okay.
He was unaware.
Moving on to item 5, lot split Founder's Ridge. Eric.
All right, thank you again for the record. Eric Rosh with Inspire here in my capacity as a city planner contracted by the city. This is item number 5 on your agenda. This is the Founder's Ridge lot split. I'll run you through the location, speak about the prior approvals on the property, then I'll outline the request and wrap up with comments and a recommendation. So this one's west of North Hancock Road and north of Citrus Grove Road. It's just over 25 acres in size, and it's part of the overall Founder's Ridge, also known as Citrus Grove PUD. And that PUD was recently approved, and it's a form-based regulating plan, as you can see here on the screen, with transect zones. We're really talking about the far eastern portion of this plan right now, which is designated as a special district. And the reason it was designated as a special district is immediately adjacent to the east is where you have the Camp Lake Industrial Park that's under construction. So this area is really a transition from that as you move west into the other portions of the project that include residential, commercial, vertical integration of uses, and those types of things. So the special district's approved for just over 311,000 square feet of Commerce Park uses. So the request here is to split that Commerce Park section off. It's, as I mentioned, 25.3 acres. The overall parcel is about 190 acres. And this would be its own lot for the Commerce Park. They have not yet submitted a site plan, to my understanding. We have met with them on pre-apps to discuss the Commerce Park layout and things like that. But that site plan would come back to you. It would go through staff review, and then the site plan would come through P&Z, and ultimately it would have to be approved by council. So that would be a forthcoming application. We don't have any outstanding comments on this one, and the staff recommendation is for approval. I believe the applicant team's here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to add anything to his presentation?
Hello, my name is Madeline Damon. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Address is 700 Almond Street, Claremont, Florida. We worked with staff on this application. We don't have anything further to add, but we are grateful for their support, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners. Commissioner Martin.
I have a question. So just for clarification, the current zoning on this is, was that industrial?
The zoning is technically PUD, but it has industrial uses as part of that regulating plan that you saw on the screen. So it's really a Commerce Park portion of the PUD.
And what's the intention for future land use? Was that stated clearly? Because I was having a hard time in that, looking in the application for the future intention.
Yeah, in their future land use designation, they had a text amendment that they did when they came through the process for their PUD. So they essentially adopted text into the comp plan with this specific development program. So it's unlike, just general commercial or something like that. It was tailored specifically for this project. So there's outstanding policies in there that really speak to the uses, the square footages, the unit count, all of those things specifically for this site.
And why the split?
They did that as part of the lot split now. I'll let the applicant speak to their ownership structure.
Thank you.
Yep.
As Eric mentioned, this is part of the overall Founder's Ridge, plan that came before you as part of the PUD. So that portion, the industrial portion, we're just splitting off that industrial portion as part of that plan. So this is the next step as part of that plan.
Right, but why?
Just because that's the next step. So these lots are intended to be split for the intended use. So because that use is intended to be industrial and it's going under construction, that portion is going to be split. So that parcel is solely for that intended use.
And during that PUD, does this split create any additional developmental rights?
Can you clarify what you mean?
So we're splitting this for industrial use as part of the PUD, correct? But is there going to be any additional developmental rights that are approved along with this split, or is it as written in the PUD?
As written in the PUD.
Okay. And is there any other applications anticipated moving forward if we do this split?
Not at this time.
Okay. That's it for now for me.
Commissioner McCoy, do you have
Thank
anything?
you.
Commissioner Rose?
No, Nicole hit it.
I know, I think so too. I'm going to review my notes really quickly because I think she got mine too. The Turkey, Eric, the Turkey Farm Road, can you just, the roadway improvements, how they relate to this lot split? Is it going to be, because I know Turkey Farm was, leave it, yeah. Because it says it will be brought up to city standards, the adjacent, so.
And it's a good question. I believe they have renamed it to something about Camp Lake Commerce Boulevard or something like that. But the former Turkey Lake, or Turkey Farm Road, there's an agreement in place for improvements amongst the property owners that have frontage on Turkey Farm. So that will be constructed based on their prior approval in the PUD. I'm not completely sure of the funding mechanism, but it's all privately constructed by those owners adjacent. So that will be in place to serve both Camp Lake Commerce Center plus this project, plus the Citrus Ridge project to the south, which I believe you've seen recently.
And that's at the expense of?
The
Yes.
development community, correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. No other questions up here, then we can open it up to public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this? Nope. All right, closing that public and bringing it back up to the board for a motion.
So it appears to be an administrative lot split. We were able to understand whether it simply divided ownership or facilitates future development. All seemed aligned with me. So therefore, I recommend approval of this with the developmental rights remaining unchanged, zoning remains unchanged, long-term intent is understood clearly based on the PUD.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 6, site plan of Ace Hardware.
All right, thank you again. For the record, Eric Rosh with Inspire. This is item number 6. This is the Ace Hardware site plan. I'll run through the location, the request, and then the comments and recommendation. So this one's south of Citrus Grove Road. It's actually really close to the case that you just took action on, immediately south of Founder's Ridge. And it's east of Grassy Lake Road. So this is right on the corner of Citrus Grove and Grassy Lake. It's 2.26 acres in size, and it has B1 zoning. So it's not part of a PUD. It just has the standard conventional commercial zoning for the city. The request here is to construct a 16,464 square foot Ace Hardware building. They're proposing 72 parking spaces. They're also proposing some outdoor display of merchandise. The city's code essentially prohibits outdoor display of merchandise unless it's approved specifically on a site plan. So that's what they're requesting here today. I think most of us are familiar with like an Ace Hardware where they'll have limited things out front. So that's a consideration for this board and for council when we ultimately get to that stage. The elevations are shown on the screen. We have pointed out the eastern elevation lacks some of the architectural detail. The applicant has submitted a variance to allow for that to move forward, and they've also submitted a variance for the TPO roof, which has been a pretty common request, folks wanting to do those, not do the tile or the metal on these commercial flat roof buildings. So those two variances are under consideration. They're indicated on the cover sheet, but we got the official applications on the 26th of June. We had a couple minor comments on light pole fixture height, architectural elevations, and some dimensioning. Nothing there that they can't overcome. Those are really just cleanups. As I mentioned, number 3, they are proposing outdoor storage and display of merchandise. I'll let the applicant speak to that request and why they're seeking it. And then we do need a utility easement adjacent to Grassy Lake Road. Apparently that was previously dedicated to the city, but it was never recorded. So that's something that we're in communication with the applicant on. So staff recommendation is for approval, subject to those variances being approved and the outstanding comments being addressed as presented on the screen. I'm here for any questions, and so is the entire applicant team. Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant like to add anything onto this presentation before we ask questions?
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Neil Osma, President and CEO of Tools Ace Hardware. We're a local family Ace Hardware organization. We work in Winter Garden. That's where our main store is. And we have the Lake County stores in Groveland and Claremont locally here. So we're here for any questions or concerns. We're excited to be a part of the community and to deliver the helpful brand that we have tried to build every single day to local residents. Regarding the outdoor display of merchandise, I get it. I understand it's a part of the code. I understand why. We just wanted to be forefront in anticipation of it, is that typically when you go up to a hardware store, as he mentioned, we put up wheelbarrows and a couple, maybe some plants, some live goods, just to give an ambiance out front when you walk up, that this is kind of a community hardware store type feel. But I understand why the code is written as it is, but I will, we would like to request that permission just to have that good feel. And being a garden center too, we're going to have a garden center section of it, and that gate will likely be open, and a little flow out of garden goods as well, live goods and stuff like that. So all in good taste and good display, organized. We run a very clean organization. I like to think that. And so we would keep the standards up that the city would like, but that's why the request was made. So we're here to answer any questions or concerns, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, bring it to the commissioners, going to left to right. Commissioner Rose.
As far as Ace Hardware, so I've shopped at Home Depot, I've shopped at Lowe's, and I've shopped at a couple of your locations. Ace Hardware has by far the best staff for finding things, or helping me find things. I think it'd be a great addition to the community. However, I am not a fan of outdoor storage items, because sometimes when I've driven past different locations, there may be mulch bags that are opened up. It's dirty looking. It doesn't really present a clean, cohesive look when you start putting outdoor storage and items for sale outside of a building. But that's really my only concern.
Could I ask you address the Kevin comments on this too? I think he had something on, if you have them all.
Let's see.
Did you receive the email that one of our
I only received.
I didn't see it.
item numbers?
No, this was all on the other
Okay.
item.
All right. Sorry, there was just something about the package to the housing, but if you received it, those are something I just want to make sure that you were okay with.
No, I did not get
but-
that.
All right. Okay, any other thing, Commissioner?
No,
All right.
no, that's it.
Commissioner McCoy?
This was originally a medical facility going on that site, am I correct?
The
the
medical
other
facility is
side.
still there to
That's
the
still-
to the
that's-
left, yeah.
This
What's
is
the
the-
buffering to the community?
So the back of Ace Hardware will back up directly to a community, so what's going to be the buffer between the back of that store and the houses right there?
I believe that was one of Kevin's questions.
My name's Bobby Johnson. I'm with Gemini Land Development, and I'm also the engineer for the project. Address is 2875 South Orange Avenue, Suite 500. And I believe one of our items that we submitted was our landscape plan. So we have landscaping that will act as our buffer along that rear property line to the south. To the east is the large transmission lines, so we have no residence to that side. That's about a 200-foot wide, it's either 200 or 180-foot wide transmission easement to our east. And then to our west is Grassy Lake Road.
Any other questions?
I'll come back.
Okay. Commissioner Martin.
Okay. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, fabulous. How about you?
Doing well. Okay, so my first question is, and I don't know which one of you would like to answer this, but I would like to say that it has been a hard no for everything that we've done consistently with this board to have the stuff out front. And just for clarification, you said that you owned the 2 locations in Claremont, correct? So that's the one on 27 and then the one on 50. Okay, so I would like to focus on the one on 50, for example, okay? The things out front, and this is again to Commissioner Rose's comments, that one is hardly cleaned, right? I mean, there's stuff at all times. You have mulch piles and things, and that's something that the city kind of wants to steer away from. So the questions and the concerns, knowing how council typically votes on items like this would be, is there consideration to have those 2 entrances? So you have the front facing, which would be clean. There would be absolutely nothing in the front. And then this back area that you said was fenced in, the guarding area, that would be where you would have all of your displays and everything in the back. So that this way it is out of the eye of the main, and we still have that main frontage that's forward facing to the city would be clean. And then all of your display items would happen in that gated area, and you can still have them out however you want. And if people can choose to go in that way to see things, great. But on that front facing, to keep it in compliance with code, to have nothing on the street. Do you have concerns about that recommendation?
Yes, I understand the layout that you described. It's nice in this site being a ground build. We can build it to our standards a little bit that we are trying to plan ahead for the mulch and the bagged goods that customers ask for. So on the southeastern quarter of this site, as you described correctly, we tried to build in a fenced-in kind of storage area with a nice, not just a chain link fence, but a nice, kind of the black, nicer design type fence. So things look really nice back there. It's well lit. It's very nice. That way, if you receive a delivery, it doesn't have to go in the parking lot. It goes into a specified area, keeps it really clean, like you said, with the attention to the broken bags and whatnot. I still would like to request outside of the front of the store, just because that's per usual, of just some of the smaller items that we carry, not bagged goods such as mulch. Those would all be on the back corner, but just your smaller, like a rack of vegetable plants, for example, or a rack of flowers, those types of things, just to give that presentation as you go up to the store. But I understand what you described, so. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jeff Powell with Powell City Architecture. I've been working with Neil on the project. And I know that initially we kind of pushed through the elevations real quick, but I would like to point out that we knew that we would have to come to you for this request. And we tried to make some accommodations in the front design of the building by pushing out a front porch. If you're familiar with the Groveland store, it does have an extended canopy in the front. Not only did we do it on this one, we also put extended canopies from the main entry all the way down the sides. So there will be columns with stone that'll go up to a black metal roof, and all of the goods will be underneath that cover back up against the storefront wall. So don't know if it helps with your decision or the request, but I wanted to just bring that up to you because I know it kind of went by pretty quickly on that, so.
Yeah, I understand the elevation, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. However, this is a council who has continuously said, hey, we don't even want ice machines out front. We don't want when Redbox was a thing. Like, this is something, and there's a reason, right? Like, when you drive through Minneola, especially when we have all of these kind of higher-end developments coming in, there's this cohesiveness that people like to see, right? And I think that if we make any exceptions to things like that, then what's going to stop a gas station or whatever coming in and asking, hey, can we put this out front or that out front? And so I understand that as the fact that it is on brand for you, and that's completely understandable. However, I know that there's other examples, like for example, and I know that you guys are a family owned, but in Cocoa Beach, for example, they have theirs where the thing that we're suggesting here, where everything kind of goes behind those fenced in areas, is done over there for the same reason. So I know that it's not completely out of the brand to make a recommendation like this. And again, knowing the council and the way that they view these types of things, I think that it would be like not on brand for us as a advisory board to give you a recommendation knowing that the council is going to have an issue with that moving forward. So as I understand that you guys have already kind of moved forward on some of this developmental things, I think that maybe taking into consideration this way to kind of rework this in that back area, whether it be, you know, putting it on that way or whatever. I just think even the idea of having racks of plants, like sometimes with direct sunlight, these things don't get watered. They begin to get watered down. If someone touches one, soil comes onto the floor, and it just over time begins to look messy. And I think that that's something that as a city that we're trying to avoid. That's just my recommendations. It's not anything that you need to do right now, but these are big things that I know that as an advisor to council that they're going to have concerns over. I do have some more though, so don't go far. All right, next one is on this particular lot, is there going to be any existing trees preserved in the development of this? And I think whoever the engineer person was might want to come back for this one.
The whole site was
Has already been
cleared
established.
with the overlook.
Good.
It was part of that overall
Yep.
development.
I just wanted for the record, wait, don't go anywhere. So I saw on your, for the plants here, you had some recommendations and not all of them were native plants. What is the priority on prioritizing native plant species in this development?
The landscape architect, he's not here today, but he did prioritize water, like plants that do very well with low watering. He is very concerned about that aspect.
Yeah, well, I mean, like dwarf holly and things like that do require a little bit more water than most. I do appreciate like I do see that there are some that are drought tolerant. I think that, you know, especially as a hardware store that's going to have a garden center, I would love to see the use of more ecological, impactful things here. My next question is going to be the stormwater, the easement that's required. I would absolutely hate to see this easement just be an easement, especially for someone like you guys where you know, produce this opportunity for the community to come and get plants and things like that. I would love to see a little bit more intentionality around the stormwater easement when it comes to ecological plants. We're talking about, you know, I think it was 250 square feet for the easement. What was the total easement build out?
I don't remember exactly what the easement is, but the reason the easement exists is it picks up stormwater from Grassy Lake Road.
Right.
And it takes that county's water and it pipes it through. So the county requires us to pipe it from their right-of-way through to the existing overlook system and pipes into their system.
Yes.
So they have a requirement of doing a 20-foot wide easement over their storm pipe.
Yeah, so my recommendations for this, when I'm saying more ecologically intentional, I mean putting native plants there that help support the filtration of this, so it's not just a hole in the ground that has the pipes moving through it. So we are talking about like wetland features, so cattails, things like that, that can help support the ecological function and also act as mitigation to the development of this project. So I think that in general, one of the things, if you have ever heard me speak before, I'm sorry, because sometimes I can sound like a broken record, but the biggest thing is development will continue to happen, right? I'm not here to stop development. I'm not here to say otherwise. I am here to bring awareness to the fact that conservation and development can coexist together. So when we have these kind of conversations about what are the ecological impacts and how can we create mitigation into the development by understanding, okay, let's add a little bit more drought intolerant plants. I know as far as our code, it doesn't say specifically when it comes to native plants. So this is something that we asked to collaborate on together, right? Obviously, you don't have to do it. It's a recommendation like anything else. But these are things that I ask for people to kind of take into consideration because they're very important as an impact. And for someone who is a hardware store and part of what you do is to be able to provide services and goods in this way, I think that there's an opportunity for us to collaborate a little bit more on this aspect.
Random segue, but I was the board chair for Conservation Florida, a statewide organization that focused on, you know, conserving land across the state. So I understand this sentiment and I love the sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And so next conversation that we have with the landscape architect will go a little bit more native focused.
I appreciate
and
that.
try to incorporate some live goods that can assist with the whole site, essentially.
appreciate that.
So I respect the sentiment, I really do. So
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Yep. I think I've hammered them a little too hard, so we're good.
Some of the, I wanted to get some extra questions that wasn't, because and this might be, I don't know if this would be Eric or you guys, because the traffic analysis, because now this is going right across for the medical, and if you guys remember, when the medical was brought up, we had issues with the traffic study at that time wasn't done, and it was supposed to be presented, so I'm wondering how this is going to impact that as well. So it's, if you, I don't know, like I said, Eric, if there's anything you can add to that, because
So for clarification, you're asking what the traffic
Really,
impact is?
the traffic analysis consideration, the cumulative traffic from the for the medical
Facility will directly
because
impact.
now it's including that as well, so.
Okay.
Yep.
I
and
just wanted to clarify.
It's a good question. We've been coordinating directly with Lake County as they control Grassy Lake Road and Citrus Grove Road. We had a meeting with them, I think, a week or two ago to hopefully get on the same page with respect to this project and Founders. So it's my understanding, and of course, not a traffic engineer, but this project itself doesn't trip any major issues with Grassy Lake or Citrus Grove. It's when Founders comes in is when there may be a requirement for an additional turn lane on Grassy Lake Road. And you know, the applicant has been coordinating directly with the city and with Lake County on that, on how it would work. So that's something that's definitely in consideration and will have to be resolved.
Okay, don't go far. I don't, because there was something, let me see, where did it go? Shoot, now I lost my spot, but I guess it may not be for you, because it was talking about, so because this is going to be up against some other residents' homes, delivery times and trucks like that, what considerations are we putting into for that? Or, like, you know, like I said, I can't find my exact question right there, but, so I don't know, Eric, that would be you, but that would be applicant, or Neil, I think it was.
Yeah, ACE is pretty flexible on delivery times, and they work with local retailers as to, you know, when those can be requested. We do prefer them in the morning and not in the middle of the day when customer count is at its highest, because that could be an issue with a semi-truck coming onto the site and then unloading and all that kind of stuff. So we typically try to do it. It really varies by store, to be honest with you. But we have worked with numerous municipalities on making sure that it's at a good time. We want, you know, good for the common welfare around the community as well. You know, we don't want to upset the citizens nearby. Those are potential customers. So our intentions should be aligned in that respect. If you're asking me for a specific time, I can get that. I can request that from ACE and try to figure out exactly when we're going to do this. And if you guys have some feedback on that, we can work together on that. I don't have that right now, but I understand what you're referring to. Yeah, we don't want a 1 a.m. Truck rolling around the city of Minneola. First of all, I don't want employees there at that time, right? So if there are delivery standards in the city, I can review those as well and make sure the ACE aligns with those. But I don't know if I answered your question, but I understand it completely.
Right, because we're also, that's also a school at zone, or not zone, but
Understood.
area, so we got to watch out for all that traffic is, or time thing, everything, residents,
100%.
deliveries, noise.
100%.
The fun stuff. Okay.
Your outside propane?
Yes, sir. We do plan to have a outside propane filling station, which has to be approved from the state as to the placement, and the employees have to be also certified and trained. Yes, sir. This is a common practice at our other locations. We fill a lot of propane. It's actually the most economical way for a customer to get their tanks, to get propane, is to actually fill it themselves as opposed to the swap situation. We're typically, I'm not trying to sell our business here, but we're typically, you know, 30 to 40% cheaper when you fill your own tank as opposed to a swap situation such as at Publix or a gas station. So,
All right. Thank you. Anybody else?
No, I would like to make a motion for approval if you're ready, or do we have to do
Public
public
comments.
comments? Yeah.
Yep.
You have one more.
So, yes.
I always be forgetting that sometimes when we go so long and have all these questions. Of course you have something to say.
Dave Yeager,
You're invited.
Dave Yeager, 13415 Sullivan Road. This store needs to have two fronts. It needs to have a front that basically is the front next to the road, and the back is the front where people can go into a fenced-in area and pick up and walk into the store. The reason being because Publix chooses the bit all the time because they can't put stuff out there. They used to put trees. They do it in Claremont, but we don't allow anything. They did have watermelons this week, but code enforcement wasn't there on Memorial Day to tell them they couldn't. But remember, we don't have vacuums. We don't have ice machines. We don't have pallets of water. If you go to the Circle K, everything the Circle K does down there in Claremont on Hancock is what we don't do. And so, obviously Ace is a great brand, and obviously there's a good family that owns it, but this has to be different. And if we open that can of worms, and there's an issue there. And again, if you do that and a big box store comes in later and they want to put stuff outside, and then the next one and the next one and the next one. But at this moment, we don't allow anybody to put stuff out there, or code enforcement has removed it. Racetrack has put an ice machine 3 times out there and it got removed, but the original order was no ice machine. But then they put it at the back of the place, snuck it in, and we had it removed. And then Walgreens put a water machine in the middle of the night, and that was removed. And we don't do red boxes, we don't do Amazon, we don't do anything. So we need to look at that, and again, they need to be here. Remember, that property, when that neighborhood was put in there, that property was probably B1 when the developer developed everything. So he developed the west side, the east side, but that B1, and that was a construction site for Junior Davis for the turnpike. All the pipes were there for a long time. That's why that land is clear cut. It was just flattened out, and he had fenced there with all his equipment as far as pipes and things for the turnpike. But again, if we open that worms, everybody gets it, or nobody. Thank you.
Thank you. I remind everyone, I'm keeping the 3-minute timing this meeting. Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Denise Price. I'm at 3218 Hill Point Street. I'm across the street from the other side, the overlook at Grassy Lake East. I'm concerned a couple things. I'm surprised that nobody from that side is speaking. But I think there's like 30 feet from the boundary of where ACE is going to be to the back fencing of the neighbors. And to have a commercial enterprise right in your backyard, I know that people were concerned. I'm surprised nobody's here. But I think there should be a fence and trees that screen without seeing any of the activity from ACE. Also, lighting. I'm sure they're going to want some sort of security lighting, but that could be intrusive for the neighbors that are just, 30, 40 feet away. And I think it's kind of a difficult project. Also, traffic. I know that that medical center, for people to exit that, the way they set it up, they have to take a right only onto Grassy Lake Road. So now if we've got ACE coming one way or the other, I don't know if there's going to be a conflict. I'm kind of worried about the medical thing. If people want to go back up to Citrus Grove, they're going to have to do U-turns or something to get back up there, or go all the way down to Education and back up. It's just it's going to be a nightmare, I think, at that corner. There's just too much going on. So I'm glad that ACE is going to be up here. I shop at ACE. I like not having to drive down to 50. But I think that you have to keep in mind the residents that are there. I know some of them were surprised. I've known it's going to be ACE because I'm nosy and I go over and ask. And I've known this for about a year and a half that that's what's going to be there. But I think consideration needs to be put in place to block ACE and give the residents privacy. Also, I'm against putting commercial next to residential like this. I don't think that should be done anymore.
Just to answer your questions, if I may. So they did provide in their landscape buffer, they did provide like their intention as far as the trees.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
didn't
look-
see it.
If you look at the whole, it's public record, it's on their thing. I wish I could like turn it around and make it bigger for you, but on their little map thing here, they show that going around the perimeter of the entire thing, they have plants, and it even shows what their intention is. So there's like live oak, and I'm trying to, let me read you the list.
I think magnolias would be better because
So
you
that's
can't
part of
see
their
through them.
list is plum, they have longleaf pine, magnolias, they have live oak, Florida elm, eastern red cider, Washington desert palm, sable palm, Yupon holly, and finger tree, all the way.
Palms are awful.
Listen, we just had that conversation, and they're going to take it into consideration. You speak it to the choir, sister, I hear you.
Yeah, well, I'm a
I
master
promise you
gardener, and
that.
I know that they should
Right.
never put that in Overlook at Grassy
Yeah.
Lake. They're terrible.
Right, and we can have them address it to our,
All right.
But
Probably
they,
at
but
another
the point of
time,
bringing
but-
it up was that they do, on their plan, have the entire outside of their perimeter loaded with trees to create that separation. So it is already in consideration.
Okay.
As far as the zoning goes, it's B1 zoning. It's always been B1 zoning. They're not asking for any special
No, I
things.
know,
Yeah.
but I think that people, which, they bought houses over there, and I'm on Facebook with, Overlook at Grassy Lake, and people going, what?
Yeah, well, I
What?
mean, unfortunately, that's them doing their research prior to buying homes. That's
Right.
really nothing that
No.
this board has done or anything that the applicants can do to change that. It's zoned for that. They're building within the zones. The things
I
that we do have
understand.
control over are the variances, and I think taking into consideration, like the look of the things, I think that will be a consideration to the neighbors. But as far as what it is, I mean, we can't tell them.
No, I know that, but I do know, I just want you to know that people are concerned.
For sure.
And that needs to be addressed, and hopefully there is a aluminum fence to cut it off so we don't have people
Yeah,
wandering
and that is what
around.
they discussed,
Yeah, I think
having
you
the
mentioned that.
beautiful fencing. So I think all the concerns are being heard and being
Okay, and you're
accommodated.
talking about a rain garden.
Yeah, so, yeah, similar, that would be the idea, but it would be more ecological, so the intention would be more wetland, and I can provide, like, I have a whole little book of things, but I can provide specific plant recommendations to their team if
Right.
they so request.
Right, and there is a rain garden up in Traveries at the Discovery Garden. Also, I was a Texas Master Gardener, and they were supported by the Water University with Texas A&M, and they have quite a bit of information on creating a rain garden. So, yeah, I think
Thank
it's a good
you.
idea. All right, thank you.
you. Is there anybody else? Wait,
Two.
you got two.
Oh, look at that, I like the notepad. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is my first time coming to an event like this, but I actually live.
Just your name and address for the record
Juan
first.
Calixto, and I live on 1224 Ivy Manor Street. So
Okay.
it's the property.
Backing up.
Yes, exactly, right behind. So I know you said there's going to be landscaping on the perimeter, but obviously I didn't do my due diligence and research. But what is the exact distance or the width of the landscaping? Is it going to be right up against my fence, or is it going to be, a little bit off the fence? Is there going to be a gap? Things like that. Another concerns I had was delivery. So I understand, he's willing to. Now I'm not against Ace. I love Ace, but I don't. With the deliveries, early in the mornings you got schools. Then in the afternoons you got prime time. People going in buying stuff. So that pushes you now to the evening. Now we have to keep our personal issues, versus reality, kind of like you said. So the reality of it is I have a little one, it's my forever home. And with it backing that area, the lights, deliveries, are the lights going to kick off at a certain time? I know you guys want security cameras and stuff like that, or lights or whatever. The propane, kind of the stuff being not like Publix and kind of the do-it-yourself kind of thing. The second area of that community that was built, I live on that house right behind the power line. So there's an easement that goes from that community over literally right next to my house. So I looked at the plan once you guys put it up there, and I see that the dumpster and the propane station's right there on the back corner side of which is closer to my fence line. concern I have is flying debris. You know, it happens everywhere. Construction sites, regular stores. I go to the Ace in Groveland and it looks, 50 times worse compared to the one at, next to the church on 50. Am I going to have to worry about debris flying in my backyard or back into that area that is nothing's ever going to be there? So who's to say things aren't going to fly back there and no one's ever going to, bring up concern of it? And the oak trees. My last house was behind a U-Haul store. I got rid of that property, but live oak trees I highly am against, only because the leaves come down, then they just sit there, no one takes care of it. So maintenance is also on the landscaping is something I'm concerned about. Brings mosquitoes and a whole bunch of bugs and stuff like that, so there's just several things, small things, but thank you for your time.
Well, you did great for it being your first time, and your notepad was efficient.
Next. You-
Hi, Deborah Bishop Carney, 3146 Hill Point Street. I just had a question because I missed it, but where the parking lot is going to be, are the people going to be coming on and off of Grassy Lake or Citrus Grove? Because we're already starting to experience hard left turns out of the other side of Grassy Lake. So I was just curious.
So, Eric, do you want to pull the thing up so that they can see it again? Because it is like a U shape for the parking, so they are asking, I believe, what was it, 72?
72 parking spots, yes.
I heard that.
Yeah, so it's
That's for parking.
it's a U shape, if I'm looking at it correctly. Oh, there you go.
Jump into the mic real quick. Another good question. You can see they have parking kind of around the perimeter of the building on the north, east, and on the west. And they've got 2 access points, one from Citrus Grove, and then they have one on Grassy Lake. They initially wanted a full access point on Grassy Lake Road, but Lake County required them to do a right-in, right-out in that location. So that was at the request of the county. But the parking spaces are distributed around the building as shown.
So we're not really contending with them if we're making that left turn. They're ahead of us.
That may be why Lake County
But
made that
hopefully it's
request.
not going to be all backed up. I'm not thinking.
Well, again, with the roads being owned by county, this is something that the city doesn't really have a whole bunch of jurisdiction on. It is something that the county is going to have to, with the roads, and it sounds like they've been in compliance with what the county's recommendations were for that as well.
And they're definitely going to have to get driveway permits through the county. So.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? No? Does the applicant want to come up and tackle any of those comments or concerns or anything? If you
Yeah.
could come up, please. Thank you.
We having a town hall.
We did
so-
have a pretty specific lighting plan. The lighting it's not a small issue, it's a big issue for local residents, obviously. So hopefully, I would believe the tree canopy that you described is going to block that, but they did a measurement of the lumens of light that go on certain areas of it, and I think we've adjusted it a couple times because of local residents. If I'm not mistaken, am I right on that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a photometric study, had our engineer work through that. So these fixtures are full cutoff fixtures, and we've got the lighting design so there's less than 1/10 of a foot candle at the property line. We're working with staff now to talk about what is the light level into if it does peer over, but it would be much less than that as it extends over. So, but we're happy to work with staff, and I believe that one of the comments is for us to do a level of what's on, what would be a vertical face of the wall. So we did take that into highly consideration, trying to be very delicate with that rear end of the store. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right. There's no other comments, and then we bring it back up to the commission, to the board here for our motion.
So I'd like to make a motion for approval as the project appears to satisfy commercial site planning requirements. The one tension that I want to speak on is that the commercial projects often meet just the minimum engineering standards without maximizing the ecological value. So my motion is going to include the increase of ecological value. So I recommend approval while encouraging the Florida native landscaping, like we discussed, drought-tolerant plant selection, reduce irrigation demand, the ecological stormwater features, so this is in the total easement area. The native lateral shelves, pollinator habitat. I also think that we should make recommendations for Dark Sky International to be considered into this as well. And then the final recommendation would be that the loading times be considered in appliance with the neighboring concerns considered. All of this, and I believe that that would be,
I was going to say the traffic.
and the traffic study, the updated traffic study provided
if
by the county.
And then if there's any staff recommendations and Kevin's, take into account whatever Kevin might put into his email that you guys should receive, because he had some good comments on it. Unfortunately, I don't have it.
So
Those three
adding
things.
recommendations of traffic study provided by Kevin, and recommendations of
Staff and
staff notes and staff approval.
Traffic, Kevin's. staff,
And
all
in
your
total, that is my motion.
stuff. Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, wait, did I mention that? I'm
sorry?
The frontage?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, because I also wanted to include the two fronts. So having the fake front, so to speak, the forward facing, and then also having the secondary entrance with all of their pretty things in the back, in that fencing. So that is the major one. So this would be two fronts, fake front, road facing, second with the back front with the fence and all equipment placed out back. And that is my motion in its entirety.
So to clarify, the main entrance that's going to have the overhang awning that will be facing Citrus Grove will not have any outdoor displays of anything.
Correct.
All of the outdoor displays will be behind an enclosed wall or fence that is
In the
completely
back in the
blocked
garden.
from. Okay.
Yes,
I just
that
wanted to
is my
confirm that.
recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. So once again, I have a first on the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our final item number 7, which is lost in my notes. A preliminary plat for the Palms at Minneola.
All right, again, for the record, Eric Rosh with Inspire, here in my capacity as contract planner to the city. This is item number 7, I believe it's the final agenda item this evening. It's called the Palms at Minneola Preliminary Subdivision Plat. I'll run through the location, the request, and then I'll wrap up with comments and recommendation. So this one's south of Education Avenue, north of East Minneola Street, and west of North Galena Avenue. It's 5.8 acres in size. And as you can see here, it has frontage on multiple roads. It currently has a future land use map designation of single-family high density. That allows for up to 6 dwelling units per acre. It's currently zoned RSF3. So they're not proposing to change either their future land use or their zoning from what has previously been adopted. They're simply coming through for a preliminary subdivision plat consistent with those designations. They've got 35 townhomes proposed with associated site infrastructure. I'll note that they are proposing a rear-loaded product consistent with the city's new updated townhome regulations. And they have a 1.72 acres of open space. These are the proposed elevations. They've got a 3-unit building and a 4-unit building. This is the 3-unit building. As you can see, they do have front porches on the units. And here's the 4-unit building with the garage, of course, in the back, as you can see. We have gone through the review process with all of the city reviewers. We have no outstanding comments, and the staff recommendation is for approval of this project. The applicant is here, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to add anything to that presentation?
Good evening. Dustin Culver, Culver Engineering. Nothing to add to the statements. Just here if you have any questions. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right. Then let's bring it to the board. Commissioner, going to go left to right. Commissioner Rose, do you have anything?
I'm just trying to figure out where exactly this is going to be, because we're south of Education, north of Minneola, but east of Highway 27. What is that even near?
That is on, where Education 27 meets, so it is on the east,
Can you put the map back up, please?
yeah.
Because the east side has that little industrial or that little commercial.
There's some like, there's some.
It's
houses. So if you
west of
turn-
Minneola Charter School. There's a vacant lot in between the charter school and then this lot.
Education Avenue? Or
Yeah,
on
So you know
See-
on Education where the back
You see
entrance
where-
of Minneola Charter is?
The aerial is now behind.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. I was trying to figure where off of 27. Okay, I see it now.
This is the back entrance to the charter school, so it's just to the west of that.
Yeah, those are those open, that's like open woods, there's a school, yeah.
All right, got it, thank you.
Do you have any other questions? You want me to skip you for right now?
You can skip me, so it just looks like it's east of North Galena. Yeah, all right.
Yep, right
Nope,
there.
that was my question.
Again,
That was your question?
Where's the traffic going from here? I mean, is it going out on Education Avenue, or I think this is?
Well, that's something I think even Kevin's comments were bringing up about traffic and how, and, because there was no traffic study, if I remember correctly, too.
That is correct, and they filed a request for an exemption from the traffic study requirements, which was reviewed by another firm, not our firm. It went through the Regional Planning Council to a contracted firm who reviewed that request and said it was consistent with the exemption requirements because it's de minimis for traffic purposes.
So basically what you're saying is because it's only 35 homes in there, the only traffic impact would be for the residents going in, right? Is that the approval?
The letter, and I don't know if that letter made it into the packet, but it was from a traffic engineer saying that it met the minimum criteria to be considered de minimis, in that it didn't require additional traffic study review.
So this profit, they're gonna egress either on Education Avenue or Minneola Avenue toward the school, is that correct?
Well, there's multiple streets immediately adjacent to the property, southbound, and further, moving towards the west to 27. So I think, there are multiple ways to get to the property.
Thought that was a one-way.
But don't we need to take into the consideration of the traffic of the school, even though it may be, because right now we have that issue with this, they're blocking, because they closed off education, or to make the right in education, and they're using Minneola, and it's backed up, so be very interesting, so there might be something we want to consider on this.
Yeah, I'll certainly, if the applicant has a response regarding traffic, I'll certainly defer to the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a copy of the exemption letter. I can tell you exactly how they stated it. To qualify for an exemption, the peak hour trips must be less than 100 trips per hour. For this particular development, the AM peak is anticipated to be 13 trips, and the PM peak is anticipated to be 17 trips. So well under the de minimis threshold. So it's just 35 residential homes, so there's no per se traffic generator like a commercial use or anything. It's just those homes, so that's why the trips are so low.
So I probably should let Commissioner Rose go with her Commissioner Martin go with her questions before, because I do have more on that traffic, but I don't know if you have anything else.
No, you can focus on traffic because I'm going after this ecologically.
Yeah. Because like you said, it's only focused on those 35 homes, but was this exemption, I don't know the history, if anybody wants to walk through the history on this, but it just worries me because this Education Avenue and that school and all that traffic during those times are going to be
Bad.
Yeah. So
I
it worries me
understand.
that we're getting an exemption on this and not doing a traffic study, and we
Yeah,
really
that's-
should have some type of study. That it really concerns me.
Well, the traffic is it's residential traffic intended to be maintained on residential streets. As you can see, there's an existing residential area to the south and west, and that's where the connections will be. The traffic will not be routed to Education Ave.
Right, but they also use, sorry, Bill, Minneola Street, I think it says Avenue in our packet, but it's Minneola Street, they use a lot for that school because they go up there right to Oakland Avenue, and then they go through that, if they're not using education as their schools, I mean, sometimes I can't get through from my house in the reserves of Minneola because of the traffic for that, from the charter school.
And some
So-
parts of Minneola Avenue is
so-
actually one way. So,
Yeah.
and it directs it toward the school.
So I don't know, I don't like the exemption part, to be honest. I got concerns.
Understand?
Did you have anything else, Bill, on that?
No, I just think you shouldn't have an exemption for this close proximity to that school property on the traffic study. I don't think it's a smart idea to not have a traffic study and know what the traffic's gonna do around, because that school is extremely busy. All the streets, when it's in and out, totally blocked.
I understand. It's worth noting that the PM peak, which is usually around, typical rush hour, not necessarily school, is the higher of the two, being 17. And that's obviously, schools are about, 2 or 3 o'clock, and PM peaks are more 5 p.m., 6 p.m.
All right.
Hi. I have a question. So I'm looking at the ecological assessment done by this. Red flag. Can I ask, why was it the intention, or why did you go the route of doing, and I'm going to quote the exact words, a desktop assessment of this property instead of going out there and doing an intentional assessment?
I can't speak on the ecological assessment. That was done by, that's not my profession. I could get more information on that for you, but it would have been done per the code, whatever was required, because it was requested and all the documents were provided as part of the review.
Joyce, can I ask why it was a desktop assessment was accepted on this particular plot?
I'm not the project
From the city,
manager.
like,
I'm
why
not
did this-
project managing on this. I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Mark,
I think
Eric,
would have to
someone?
answer.
Why was a desktop assessment accepted?
I'll have to go back and look at the back and forth between staff. This went through, I think, 4 rounds of review, so I'll have to go dig through the paper trail to figure out when we requested it, what came in.
So this came in on January 26th of 2022, and it was stated that a desktop assessment was done and it was accepted. This is a huge problem, especially in that ecological area. This land has been undeveloped, and even in this desktop report where they stated that the Abudan Centers of Birds of Prey, these were books and handbooks that they assessed based on this land. No eyes were out there, so there's no confirmation of these things. They also used the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission wildlife database. They used the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the FDEP statewide land use database. They used the FWS Information and Planning Consultation. They also used the FNAI, which is the Rare Species Communities database. They used basically a bunch of databases to put all of this stuff into consideration and say maybe, probably, or could not be. Even based on this assessment, it says that it's the Chandler sand, lake sand, and talks about the slopes and the soil use, talks about the uplands and what could be potentially out there. And then when it goes in a little bit further and it talks about the native species, right here, sand skink, or occurrence potential moderate, is it a consultation area? Absolutely. So at that point, when we already have 3 yeses of it being a consultation area, why wasn't it recommended to do an intentional environmental assessment?
Like I said, I'd have to go back and look at the paper trail on this and review what was originally submitted versus what was resubmitted. If it is a recommendation of this body to require an updated EA, with boots on the ground. I mean, certainly that's within your ability to recommend that.
I
to the
really
applicant.
think that it's very difficult to make recommendations to council based on a desktop assessment, and I really feel like it would be in the best interest of the city for this to be tabled until that assessment is done correctly, because, I mean, just knowing that area alone, that's Harshwood Hammock, that's Sand Hill. With looking at the soil, and I don't have to look at anything else other than the soil, I'm telling you that there's a probable cause of gopher tortoises being on that, as well as skinks. So I think that until an actual assessment is done, we can't make any accurate recommendations until we know for sure.
I understand. Could that be a condition as opposed to tabling?
I mean, I think, to be honest with you, if you're asking this particular person by herself without consulting with everyone else, I think that it needs to be tabled and that needs to be done first. Because I think that what happens is that is going to determine the route that you take, permits, FWC, and that takes time. So if we continue to just put it as a condition and then we reoccur it and reoccur it and reoccur it, I mean, I'm willing to hear, concerns from other commission on this and even advice from the attorney if need be. But I personally feel with every fiber of me that this needs to be tabled until that assessment is done accurately, as well as hearing the concerns as far as traffic studies. I think that we need to take a deeper look at this project.
I think we do, yeah.
If there's any other, I mean, Commissioner Rose, McCoy, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I agree. Traffic is my main thing.
And Mr. McCoy, Mr. Rose?
I know, you have any?
I travel down education quite often, and when school's in, traffic is incredibly crazy. My concern with looking at the big red square is looking at the potential other 3 big red squares next to that. So 36 townhomes becomes 72, becomes finally 144 with 2 or 3 people per residence. Now you're up to 500 residents going in and out of education. And it's a 2-lane road. I just think, like everybody else, traffic is going to be an issue, period. So a proper traffic study would really benefit you, as well as a complete, it's necessary, as well as a complete survey of the property.
So it sounds like we have all consensus that we'd rather table
Of
this
tabling
item.
this?
As much as we hate to
Correct.
do that to you, but we do have a lot of concerns up here that are unanswered. So I guess we need a motion to table. Is that correct? Okay.
I would like to make a motion to table with recommendations that a full in-depth environmental assessment is done, as well as considerations of taking a look at that traffic study. And I understand that an exemption was filed and it did meet requirements. But, Eric, if there's any way,
I'm sorry, I just realized I didn't ask for public comments too.
I mean, if it's tabled.
So you haven't
Yeah.
made the motion and gone through the process yet, so we can
yeah.
still get there.
Okay. Go ahead, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So do you want to do public comments, being that we're tabling it, so we can hear any concerns, if any? Or do you want me to continue the motion? And I'm talking to you, Chair, it's your board.
Let's see what the public's got to say.
Is there anyone from the public that wanted to talk on this item? I'm sorry, I skipped you. We were just talking about tabling and go, oh.
No, come on
No,
up, don't
please come up.
apologize, sister.
And please state your name and address again.
Yeah, of course. Deborah Bishop Carney, 3146 Hill Point Street. I can testify, my sister's a wildlife rehabilitator. I can testify she is called out to that area, and I've been with her on one call where I don't know what it
Tortoise,
is. If
yep,
she was
you're
with
right,
me
go for
tonight,
tortoise,
she
yep.
would say which one it was, but we had to relocate it. It was trying to, cross over, and it still wanted to keep going across the street, even though I wanted to put it back, and she's like, no, it's going to keep.
It's gonna go where it wants to go.
The point of this is, I'm saying we've seen the wildlife
Yes.
there, so I agree with that wildlife study as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
My name is Aaron Blake, 290 Citrus Tower Boulevard. I'm the broker for the owner on that particular property, and there's a history to this property I think might be relevant. This particular owner has tried 2 previous times to develop this property. Previously as commercial, different iterations of commercial, and all of the traffic concerns got brought up with Education Avenue, and it was at the request of the city that we avoid that road at all costs. And so the determination was made over the last 4 years of going through these multiple attempts to develop to finally give up on any change of land use, any change of zoning, and just go with straight zoning, do exactly what it's already permitted to do, and to not access it on Education Avenue. It's just a looped in and out, only residential touching residential, and to the west is a development of duplexes. Another pertinent thing to point out is I heard Mr. Rose say, I'm concerned about another red box and another red box. All of the land to the east is the school's property and will be a school. This is a last infill piece, and so what we're attempting to do is do something that fits in as best as possible with the surrounding uses, which is the straight zoning with no changes. So I can't speak to the traffic thing, but it seems to me like, based on that letter that he has, even if they do the traffic study, it's going to come back saying the same numbers, I would assume. So I don't know that that's going to satisfy that. And my only other comment is when it comes to gopher tortoises, I thought, I could be wrong, that before you can actually construct anything, you have to go out there, and you can only do it within like 60 or 90 days of when you're going to construct. That's when you go out there and go do the tortoise thing. You can't do it any farther in advance, I don't believe. I think you have to do it in that window before construction.
So a full assessment isn't necessarily focusing on just the gopher tortoises. That's the example because they are a keystone species. Based on the desk assessment that you guys had provided, it talks about the sand skink, which is also endangered and threatened species. It also talks about the Everglades snail kite, and it also talks about the Florida scrub jay. So because that there is multiple endangered and threatened species present according to their desktop assessment, a full evaluation is recommended prior to moving forward. And then the gopher tortoise thing that you're talking about would be specifically for permitting to relocate. Those are two different things.
Is the full assessment a land development requirement in the city of Minneola?
Yes, it is.
So why would there be?
Well, that's why my questions were what it was. Why was a table?
Again, outside my area
Yeah.
of expertise, but I thought Modica and Associates was originally the ones who worked on this property, and I thought they had obtained letters from Fish and Wildlife regarding skinks and.
The only thing that we have here, which is the Montrose environmental study, is the table. It's literally a table assessment, a desktop assessment, meaning they sat here with a bunch of books and they said, based on these geological things that are present, this is, it could be, it could be, it could be, it could be. So there's no confirmation for any of those things.
We'll get to the bottom of that issue.
And like I said, that assessment was done in January 26th of 2022.
Gotcha. Well, mostly I just wanted to make you aware of the history of this property.
Thank you.
Appreciate that
I'll
very
describe
much.
it accurately, the pain that this particular owner has been through over the last many years, attempting to do something, and at very great cost, being denied multiple times on other uses and ultimately doing this. So just please be sensitive to the position that landowners are in, trying to do something that fits in and works good for the community. And I believe that out of all the things that could have been done here, this one to me seems like the least impactful that could be done here, because it's residential touching residential, and it's favoring a use similar to the one to the east, but I'd like to think it's going to be a
Right, and-
prettier development.
And
also
we
taking into
appreciate,
account
no,
cities'
and we appreciate, we just want to make
requests.
sure if we do
Yeah.
our job, that we do it with
Yeah.
everything that we feel comfortable and happy, makes us happy too.
Yeah, understood.
You
That's
know,
all I
and
got.
the- And
Right.
Mineola Charter bought that property because they were gonna build another school. And
Yeah.
they found out it wouldn't work because of the traffic.
Yeah.
So, and it's
You're talking about the adjacent property,
Yeah,
not that
all
particular
that,
property,
yeah.
yes.
the whole thing. They
Yeah.
bought that whole property,
Okay.
put a school there. So,
That's why we're going to recommend, yeah, I hate to do this to you, but we are going to,
Just wanted to
but thank
fill
you for the
in,
history, because that was something
they're
I was
obviously gonna
curious
be
on as
back,
well.
And they're going to work through this, and it's going to get approved somehow, because at the end of the day,
Yep.
they've got to be able to do something with their land, especially since they're not rezoning and they're not changing land use. At some point, something has to go here, and guiding and shaping and molding the development, I think, is the best thing you can do in a situation like this. So that's all
And
I
I
got.
think, do we have, when we table, do we need a date, or can we say, I mean, is there something that, how
They're just a
long?
recommendation, and so my advice to you would be either to approve with conditions, or deny it. You can recommend the approval with the condition that it goes back through for the environmental assessment
And
review.
traffic stuff, yep.
That would be the applicant's first choice, is the last one she said. And I think it would be the most fair to them. And of course, the city council, I'm sure, is going to scrutinize this for all the same reasons you've mentioned, plus additional reasons. So there's plenty of time to get these issues resolved. But when the client spent so many years, and at this point, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm sure they would appreciate being able to keep things moving while working on the concerns. That's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak on, before we close it? Nope. All right, closing public comments, bringing it back up to the board.
So I think hearing these concerns and obviously needing the intention of, because I don't think right now it meets the required environmental studies. I don't believe that a desktop evaluation should have been accepted here, especially because that evaluation was done in 2022. I think the tension is that urban infill can absolutely reduce canopy and ecological function unless those elements are intentionally incorporated into the design. And based on this design, I don't feel like it is accurately doing that. So I would like to make a motion to recommend approval, however, with conditions. The first one being that a in-person environmental assessment be done. I also feel like we need to add pollinator-friendly planting. We need to incorporate ecological stormwater features. I think there needs to be an increase in shade canopy. And I also feel like we need to encourage HOA stewardship for long-term landscape maintenance. And we also need to consider adding ecosystem and intentional ecological plants throughout the design. So removing some of those more pretty flora and being more intentional about the sandhill ecological imprint. So I also would like to take into consideration, I think, reviewing the traffic exemption and making sure that there is no other concerns as far as that goes, needs to be something that is considered by the council. That is my motion.
All right, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. So that was Ken, sorry. All right, we are moving on to, what is it, final public comments, is it? Because that was our last item, yes. So, final public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and please state your name and address for the records. I don't know where I'm getting records from.
Hello, it's Josh Eager, 2045 Axel Street. I was watching on TV, actually, when you guys were discussing the Mr. Yeager's property. I don't have too much of a comment about that, but he mentioned, I own a property in Plum Lake Estates, which was annexed to the city. I'm not sure how long ago he mentioned it as well. And it's a huge headache. We're the only parcel annexed to the city in a deed-restricted community. It's a mobile home park. I don't know if it was done 10, 15 years ago, but you know, at this point, probably tens of thousands of dollars in taxes have been paid by myself and previous owners. So one of my comments is, you know, it sounded like a similar situation where I hope the city would be a little more mindful about annexation. For example, like I pay for Minneola trash on that property, but Minneola does not pick up my trash. The county does. If at any point they wonder why I'm not paying them, like at that point, obviously, I'd probably have to sue the city to try and get the money that I paid from the city to the county. And when I talked to the utilities company here, you know, they told me like, don't open a can of worms kind of thing. I also inquired about de-annexation from Minneola, and I was told there is no process. The city has no defined ordinance on removing yourself from the city. So I guess my 2 points really is, one, I'm not sure why you would annex a property like Mr. Yeager's. It sounds like a similar situation to me. Who's going to get his trash? Is it county? Is it one lone garbage truck? And then also, yeah, I would encourage, there should be something in the books for, you know, property owners like myself to be able to, whatever the term is, but separate from the city on properties that I have no benefit from being in the city.
If I understand that correctly, you said you were watching at home and then came in just to add your public comment. I appreciate your admiration and dedication to be able to voice yourself here. So you are the Plum Lake property, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and you said you contacted the city and county about your annexation?
Just the city.
Okay. I hear your concerns. Yeah, I hear your concerns.
Yeah.
Okay. And as far as you guys are aware, I mean, is that all accurate as far as if I wanted to separate from the city? I was told I'd have to get a lawyer, which is kind of a huge burden to place.
Is that correct?
I think that you would have to go to the county and ask for annexation into the county. I
Separate
don't think
from the
that's a
city?
city thing.
There is a petition to de-annex from the city that you could do. It's by statute. That's really the only thing I can tell you.
Have you guys had?
We've never had anyone petition to my knowledge.
He's over here thinking,
first, man.
he's over here thinking, hang on a minute.
It just feels like, I mean, I was told to go get a lawyer, and it's like, $700 a year in taxes, and who knows how much that would cost. But anyways, I know you guys already voted on it, but that's just my opinion. You guys should be a little more mindful about, I don't understand the benefit to the city on that property or my own, when you bring them in and you get taxed, but you don't provide any services. I pay sewer as well. I don't have a sewer, Anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Good luck, man.
Final public comments? If not, closing it, bringing it back up to the board for reports.
Who's going to report?
Joyce, Eric.
I have
Jennifer,
questions too.
Lois?
I have no reports.
Nothing there? Okay.
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
no, I
thought
said
you
I do.
I thought you
No, I said I
don't.
do, but if you wanted to go to them first, I'm okay with that.
No, they all said no, I think it was, yeah. No one else.
Okay, so I want to create a recommendation for council to make some of these future policy idea considerations. I think that there needs to be a voluntary conservation design checklist that the city puts together. I understand that our code doesn't have a lot of conservation things in it, and so it would be completely voluntary that each developer would be able to come in. We would have these concerns or suggestions based on their area, and they can choose to elect into it prior. It would be part of that initial application process. I think that that would help create a little bit more stability in some of the structure that we're noticing as far as a lot of the back and forth. And are things ecologically safe? Are we taking things into mitigation and that type of concern? So doing a voluntary checklist would give the applicant an opportunity to take these considerations on their own accord. We're saying, listen, we understand that this is not our code, but these are some conservation things if you're willing. We can include things like dark sky. We can include things like stuff that we all have common concerns about. And making this a voluntary conservation design checklist would kind of alleviate some of the time and some of the questions that we have up here. I think that in doing that, we should also consider an ecological design narrative. This is just a conversation that I think that maybe, how we've had conversations about golf carts, we've had conversations about chickens. I think having an ecological design narrative conversation would be important, and it would help us all understand where we stand as a city on these types of concerns. This would also include the native landscaping initiatives. It would include ecological stormwater guidance. It would include pollinator-friendly commercial standards, dark sky lighting expansion, Florida-friendly landscape standards, tree canopy enhancement. It could also include some things about HOA stewardship guides. So like if we're, for example, this townhomes that just came in front of us, if we're asking them or they're willing to create more of an ecological safe place to live, I guess the HOA standards would be a new guideline that says, hey, these are the plants and this is, based on this voluntary checklist. that we're asking that you have these conversations. This basically allows us to have early conversation and collaboration during the site planning. It allows all of these things to kind of happen prior to here. And so if we can have that conversation and kind of create this collaboratively between this advisory board, Inspire Placemakers, and the council, then I think that it would help create a mitigation long-term for some of these things without having a huge fiscal impact as far as the comprehensive plan updates or code updates. It allows us to create a working example to see if it would be successful and things like that before we making any official code amendments.
Would you like to head that up?
Listen, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm making that is
Well-
what I'm doing in this moment.
My question is, because this comes up at every meeting with every commercial developer, what is the process to just make it part of the code? What is involved in doing that? Because it comes up all the time, and I think we waste more time discussing the same issues than this is what the code states, dark
Right.
sky,
So the reason why I'm recommending this versus doing a code change is because it does take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of moving parts, where this would allow us to kind of enter into kind of like a trial experiment. Also, the other main concern is that doing a code change takes time. But these developers, as we've heard tonight, a lot of these PUDs were already approved in 1994 and 1996. So we have no choice but to move forward with them. Doing this voluntary checklist allows us to implement that into these already existing PUDs. Not to say that we won't continue the conversation in the code, but it allows us to make that conversation relevant to what's happening right now.
Yeah, I agree. It should be some sort of a checklist for
Yeah.
them, because it'll make it
And
easier on
it's
everybody.
completely voluntarily, but this way it avoids, and I would say us, but I mean me being the wall, right, to these people. And then it allows them to kind of be collaborative before it comes to us. And then they can move through. And this checklist would say, okay, these are the main standards. We chose to look at this, this, and this. Now, it is voluntary, so they can look at it and say, hey, we're going to do none of it, kick rocks. And that's okay because it is voluntary. But I've heard in my working with Eric and Joyce and, the planning and zoning team, as well as talking to some of the developers, I know that they are eager to be in compliance with some of these. A lot of them are.
Agreed.
They just don't know. And so if we can create this voluntary checklist moving forward and have this conversation moving forward, I really think that it would help relieve a lot of the tension around this particular
Agreed.
subject.
Agreed.
So that is my report and my recommendation. I feel like other than that, I'll save whatever for next month for you guys.
Thank you. All right, nothing else? Then I will ask for motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a first, I have a second.
I'll make a second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Enjoy your soccer game, friends.
Probably over. I have no idea, it's probably over.
I hope you T-voted.
You're alone.